I will describe in detail the ninth verse of Rasaratnakara, Rasayankhand. So welcome back to this explainer. We're skipping the usual generic history today because we are going straight into a highly specific, incredibly advanced ancient protocol. We're going to deconstruct the exact methods, the substances, and the precise environments this text demanded for profound physical and mental detoxification. It's really fascinating stuff. Take a look at this. We have the 1939 publication of the Rasaratnakara, specifically the Rasayankhand, which is the section focused entirely on rejuvenation, right next to the exact page with the protocol we're analyzing today. You kind of have to ask yourself, how did this ancient text come up with such a rigorous, holistic blueprint for a complete cellular and psychological reset? Well, as we're going to see, these classical claims aren't just old historical beliefs. They actually perfectly mirror concepts that we are only just now validating through modern scientific evidence. So, zooming right in on the first instruction, the Pratamo Upadesha, we find verse 9. Let's actually read the original Sanskrit text exactly as it was written. It goes like this: Nirvate bugrihe, bhayachinta vivarjita, jitendriyo jitakroda, kshirashali anada bugbhavet. Now, that might just sound like a chant to us today, but that single verse literally contains a complete, multi-layered biohacking protocol. The real secret here is in the precise syntax. By breaking down the Sanskrit phrase division, the padacheta, word by word, a super clear blueprint emerges. Okay, so nirvate translates to a windless place. Bugruhe means an underground chamber. Then you have bhaya chintava virjita, which means completely free from external worries. Jitendriyo describes someone who has conquered their senses, and jitakrodaha is one who has conquered anger. And finally, shirashalya nabugvavet dictates that you must consume only a strict diet of milk, kshira, and a special type of rice called shali. Let's break down exactly why these very specific variables were chosen. Let's get into our first major pillar. The verse kicks things off by commanding the creation of a highly specific physical sanctuary for the body to heal. And what's wild is this aligns perfectly with descriptions in other foundational texts. For example, if you look at the Charaka Samhita's Chikitsasthana, chapter 1, and the Shashruta Samhita's Chikitsasthana, chapter 27, they both go into incredible detail on Kuti Praveshika, which is this practice of entering a specially constructed, completely isolated clinic just for rejuvenation. Vagabhata's Ashtanga Hridaya in Uttarstan, chapter 39, also echoes this exact same strict environmental mandate. So the Rasaratnakara isn't just making things up, it's tapping into a deeply established, rigorous scientific tradition. And that brings us to this really interesting concept of bugugru, an isolated underground chamber. Now, if we look at this through the lens of modern scientific reviews, specifically in human thermoregulation, this makes total sense. An underground room basically acts as this massive ancient thermal buffer. It completely isolates the human body from any extreme fluctuations in weather or temperature. Think about it. When your body doesn't have to burn huge amounts of metabolic energy just trying to stay warm or stay cool, all that freed up energy can be entirely redirected inward. It goes straight to cellular repair and detoxification. Looking back at the text, it explicitly demands the space be nirvate, completely windless. Now, historically and philosophically, wind was viewed as a carrier of imbalance and disease. But translate that to modern terms, a windless, draft-free environment minimizes the introduction of external pathogens, dust, and allergens. More importantly, it ensures the practitioner's core body temperature stays hyper-stable. This kind of intense environmental isolation was literally the absolute foundational requirement before any internal medicine could even be administered. Okay, so once the physical space is locked down, the ancient text immediately pivots to Pillar 2, the practitioner's mental state, and this is crucial. You absolutely cannot undergo profound physical rejuvenation if your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode. The ritual described here isn't just about taking a pill, it's about fully preparing the human vessel. The protocol actually demands a dual-layered psychological defense. On one side, you've got this external shield. You have to actively block out the worries of the outside world, literally abandoning your daily stressors. But on the other side, there's internal control, actively suppressing your own internal anger and any sensory distractions. Basically, it's not enough to just lock yourself in a quiet room. You have to lock out your internal turbulence too. This is where it gets really fascinating from a modern science perspective. This ancient directive to be free from external worries is a perfect mirror for the modern field of psychoneuroimmunology, or PNI. Seriously, if you look up review articles on PubMed right now, researchers have proven beyond a doubt that chronic stress, anger, and sensory overload just flood the human body with cortisol and adrenaline, and that actively suppresses immune function. The authors of the Rasaratnakara understood centuries ago that a calm, unburdened mind is a strict biological prerequisite for the immune system to reset and for the actual detoxification process to work. Right, so with the environment perfectly thermoregulated and the mind completely calibrated, the verse gives us pillar 3. This is an uncompromising rule for the body's fuel. The exact combination of substances given during this phase is absolutely critical to the whole process. The dietary protocol restricts the practitioner entirely to kshira, meaning milk, and shali, which is a highly regarded, super easily digestible rice. Let's look at this through the lens of modern pharmaceutical science and toxicology. When you're going through an intense heavy metal or herbal detoxification, which is exactly what the Rasaratnakara deals with heavily, your gastrointestinal tract becomes incredibly sensitive. By restricting the diet to just these two things, the protocol severely minimizes the digestive load. The milk provides essential fats and proteins that act as a demulcent, basically coating and protecting the stomach lining from these harsh alchemical medicines. Meanwhile, the shali rice provides clean, immediate, totally non-irritating glucose. And because this dietary mandate is anchored right there in the original script, Kshir Ashalya Nat Bhugabavet, it proves for sure that these weren't just nice philosophical suggestions. This was a strict medical prerequisite. The dosage of the surrounding environment and the diet are literally just as important as the medicine itself. Think about it. If you alter the diet, you alter the pH of the gut. That changes the absorption rate of the rasayana, potentially turning what's meant to be a cure straight into a toxin. So, let's pull all these micro-instructions together. When we combine an underground, windless environment for perfect thermoregulation, a calm, controlled mind for an optimal psychoneuroimmunological response, and a restricted milk and rice diet for minimal gastrointestinal stress, what do we get? We get a masterfully engineered, systematic mechanism designed to completely isolate the human system so we can actually heal. The fully unified translation is so powerful, it reads, "In a windless underground chamber, free from external worries, with controlled senses and conquered anger, one should consume only milk and shali rice." This really reveals a profound, unified understanding of the mind-body connection. The main takeaway here is that ancient alchemy wasn't just about mixing minerals in a pot. The primary crucible was actually the human body itself. While the specific alchemical formulations definitely have immense historical significance, this overarching systemic approach to health has profound modern significance. Which brings us to a final, really critical question to think about. If this ancient text demanded such a rigorous, distraction-free sanctuary, literally controlling temperature, diet, and mental stress, down to the absolute letter, just to allow the body to heal, how is our chaotic, sensory-overloaded modern environment impacting your health today? It really highlights a massive area for further research, like combining modern clinical isolation therapies with these ancient dietary protocols. And it definitely leaves us wondering if our 24/7 modern lives are actively disabling our own natural ability to rejuvenate. Keep that in mind as you navigate your own environment today.